Good morning. It is Wednesday, April the 29th. I am Rachel Witt, our programming coordinator at Westminster Village in West Lafayette, Indiana. We are together this morning for another edition of Brain Boot Camp. So today is National Teacher Appreciation Day. It seems very timely. I can speak from firsthand experience. Our teachers are in a brave new world of teaching via e-learning and are doing a remarkable job, all things considered. My house has seen some interesting efforts for that, so I cannot applaud them enough myself. And so it's a great day to appreciate teachers. With that, let's get started with Teacher Appreciation Day, Brain Boot Camp. I feel like they'd want it that way. All right, so we'll start off as we always do with a little bit of history. What is National Teachers Day anyway? Well, conversation started seriously about creating a day in 1944, just after World War II. Eleanor Roosevelt actually convinced the 81st Congress to create a special day honoring teachers, and that day was March 7th, for a long time. Well, and the NEA, the National Education Association, kind of led the celebration of that. Well, in the mid-'80s, the Parent-Teacher Association, or PTA, came along and said, well, we really want teachers to have a full week. So in 1985, started celebrating the first full week of May as National Teacher Appreciation Week, and then they threw in a specific day for teachers, and there are other kind of varieties of education-related things that happen otherwise in May, the first week of May. The NEA decided to get on board with the PTA. That always seems wise, right? And what that brings us to today is I just can't let all those three-letter acronyms go. Just can't do it. So our first activity today, I've got a list of professional sports associations here, acronyms, three-letter acronyms. And I would ask you in 30 seconds to complete those, identify what organizations they are. What does this have to do with teaching, you say? Well, because I think one great piece of wisdom our teachers put out there for our students is, it's great if you want to be a professional baseball player. How about if you get a little educational backup? So, 30 seconds, acronyms, ready, set, go. Okay, time is up. So you should have found NBA, National Basketball Association, NHL, National Hockey League, NFL, National Football League, PGA, Professional Golfers Association, and the WWF, the World Wrestling Federation. All right. I don't know what federation's an interesting choice, isn't it? Oh well. So I'm still stuck on three. I'm still stuck on things in threes. So I've got some quick activities I've thrown into this boot camp. This is just a 10-second thing. I've got four pictures here of four very famous groups of three. Thank goodness, I'm tongue-tied today. Hopefully by the end of this program that gets better. So take a look at these pictures really quickly. What are they? All right, so hopefully you came away on the top left with the three blind mice. Next to them, of course, are the three stooges. Below them, the three little pigs, and it just cracked me up. I've never before noticed that picture behind the pigs. Do you see that, where it says father, and it's a drawing of sausages? I don't know why that cracked me up so much today, but I hope it gives you a chuckle too. And then finally, of course, the famous monkeys, the See No Evil hear no evil, speak no evil. I think many a teacher has encountered that phenomena in their classroom. But the group of three thing continues, of course, with the famous 3 R's. Reading, writing, and arithmetic. Of course, so I've given you some common phrases here that are known in groups of 3s. And I would ask you in the next, let's say 1 minute. 1 minute sounds good. You might get done early. You might run longer. I really just don't know. But 1 minute, try and complete each of these phrases. Time's up. So life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. Government of the people, by the people, and for the people. Friends, Romans, countrymen. So if that one took me a minute to come up with, that is actually from the play Julius Caesar, written by Shakespeare. So of course, probably not in your mainstream conversation. Blood, sweat, and tears. Location, location, location. That's a common real estate phrase. Father, Son, and Holy Spirit. Faith, love, and charity, though you might also have said faith, hope, and charity. Either of those are kind of interchangeable a lot of times. Mind, body, spirit. Stop, look, and listen. Stop, drop, and roll. Very important. Fire prevention or fire response, I guess. Not really prevent it. And I came, I saw, and I conquered. All right, so we'll move on to the next activity. This next one, let me scroll down here. We're moving on to our math question. There are currently 56,547 public school teachers, K through 12, in the state of Indiana. So I've given you 4 different math problems related to that, and you have got 1 minute and 30 seconds to complete these. And your time is up. All right, so of course the first one, number 1, is 56,547. The second one, it would be 14,362,938. I would wager a guess that teachers actually spend more than $254 at the start of the year, but I think that's the average. Roughly the average. Anyway, if a teacher receives 3 apples per year from students, that totals 169,641. And then finally, number 4, surprising no one, I would answer that with math, but probably the single hardest class for me was chemistry, because it was science plus a lot of math. So yeah, if you know Mr. Guy, don't tell him I said that maybe. What was the hardest class for you? And specifically, think back to what made it hard. Was it hard because of the content? Was it hard because of a teacher who maybe wasn't compatible with you, or you weren't compatible with them? Maybe that's how that works. Was it harder because of a certain classmate or group of people in the class you were taking it? Or maybe was it hard because of just the details of it? Perhaps it was first thing in the morning, or it was right before lunch, or maybe outside social expectations, like maybe it was a class that was hard simply because there was a lot of pressure on it. Your parents expected you to do well, for example. So hopefully you've rounded out your answer a little bit more, and specifically what made it hard. And that's, of course, an emotional and long-term memory activity. Okay, so we'll move on. Continuous words. We've done these before, but I've given you on the screen here a list of 3 lines of words. So they're all compressed together. No spaces, no capitalization. You're going to read these words, read these lines of words, and I would like for you to make note of those that are somehow attached to or associated with school or teaching. And so that's a judgment call as well. So this is a 1-minute activity. Go ahead and get started. And so time is up, and we'll start here at the top. I have apple, book, pencil, and homework. Now you might be questioning if it is pen, but no, that if you take away the pen, it leaves Gwyn, because the word is penguin, so that doesn't count. We'll leave that one alone. In the second row, we have ruler, chalkboard, notebook. And in the third row, we have pen, eraser, backpack, and crayon. So now we're going to move on to another one of those kind of quickie exercises. I have got here an image of a pile of rulers. I'm going to give you 10 seconds, and this is visual discrimination. 10 seconds, just take a look at these and see if you can count how many rulers in whole or in part you see. Okay, so hopefully, did you come up with 14? I came up with 14. So what that means really is somewhere between, let's say 13 and 15. That's probably the right answer. So we'll move on to the next activity. And this is a longer one we're going to do. This is a creative thinking exercise. I have given you the first sentence and the last sentence of a story. And I'm going to ask you to write 3 more sentences to fill out in between the first and the last. So in total, you'll have 5 sentences. The 2 I give you, plus 3 in the middle. No trying to sneak a 4th sentence in there. It's not allowed. So in 3 sentences, try and complete our story. This is a 3-minute activity. time is up. I hope that was fun. I had a good time writing mine. I came up with John decided to ride his purple unicycle, sentence 1. Unfortunately, he lost control and ran into a shrubbery on his way home. That's 2. And he dropped all his groceries. That's 3. So obviously he had leftover soup and crackers for lunch. What else would you do? I don't think I'd go back to the grocery. How about you? What did you come up with? Was it a good story? Was it hard to just keep it down to 3 sentences? I found that I wrote the sentences out and then went back and added more words. Like I started with a tree and changed that to shrubbery. That sounds better, right? All right, so I've now got another of those quickie activities. I've put an image up here on a screen. Well, you recognize this, don't you? So you've got 10 seconds. If you have to fill each one of those 5 compartments, what might you have for lunch? Alrighty. Hopefully you put a carton of milk in one of those containers. Seems like everybody has a carton of milk in their lunch. And so I'd like you to think about what you've listed and see how you did, compare it to what we know the food groups to be. So we were looking for some dairy, so some kind of milk, cheese, that type of thing. We're looking for some fruit. What kind of fruit did you put on there? And we're looking for a vegetable. What vegetable or vegetables, hopefully more than one, did you fit on there? What kind of meat or protein do you have listed on there? I was always a fan of those rectangular pizzas that we used to get at lunchtime. I'm not sure what they were exactly, but they did have cheese and pepperoni on them, I'm pretty sure. And how did you do on the grains? Did you give yourself some kind of bread or rice or that type of thing? What's on there in terms of grains? And then finally, did you give yourself a dessert item? I always loved Cookie Day. Cookie Day was a good day. All right, so moving on to the next activity. Do you recognize this gentleman? That's right, it's Lyndon B. Johnson. And he is here in this particular episode of Brain Boot Camp because he is one of our presidents, actually the only one of our presidents that I'm aware of, who was a teacher before he was president. So it's kind of an interesting story. He went to a very rural school, and when he graduated from that school, he could not go immediately to college. His education wasn't deemed adequate, so he had to go through pre-college before he could go to college, before he could go to university officially. And of course, coming from a very rural area, he also was not wealthy. So he spent a lot of time completing his pre-college, and then he taught high school actually, for a period of time in a town in Texas. It was full of immigrants, and he was teaching high school to a group of people who knew almost no English, and he knew no Spanish. So it was a really formative event for him. He is pictured here in this photo with one of his teachers. She taught him in a one-room schoolhouse. And at this occasion in the photo, he is signing the Secondary Education Act of 1965. So that was kind of one of the different things that happened during that period of time to help divert more funds to schools with lower economic resources. So this is something I never knew about LBJ. It was that he taught high school. So it's a 45-second activity. How many different types of high school teachers can you think of? What are different things that high school teachers teach? 45 seconds. Here you go. time is up. All right, so kind of the three core subjects still are math, and so you might have, if you broke down inside of math, you might have algebra or geometry, calculus, pre-calculus, any of those. If you looked at science, you might have looked at biology, chemistry, physics. I'm probably forgetting something major. I'm sure you'll tell me about it later. If you look within English, you'd have some basic things like English composition, American literature, British literature. They're different specialties, so classes like psychology and film lit and those types of classes often seem to fall inside of the English department. Also foreign language, and generally speaking there are multiple foreign languages. Spanish is commonly taught at this point. French and German are still taught. Often you're seeing Chinese and Russian. I took Latin in high school. They don't teach Latin anymore. I don't remember much Latin either. I might speak better English because I learned Latin. I don't know. That's all I can say about that. And then also there are different arts, so different varieties of arts that might show up. And that includes band and orchestra and choir and visual arts and performing arts classes, those types of things. There might be some what we call life skills classes, so things like family and consumer sciences. They also have some kind of basic life skills classes. So my 8th grader, for example, I know she's not in high school, but she right now is learning how to balance a checkbook in one of her classes. So those types of things. And also they have ones that deal with physical health, so health and physical education, those types of classes. I'm sure that I'm forgetting something, but those are kind of the basics. And yes, they do still offer study hall. So study hall is available for those who would like to take it. So we have one last activity we're going to take a look at today. It's everyone's favorite, of course. We're going to do some working memory. So we've given you a classroom map. I'm going to put it up here on the screen in just a moment. And I'm going to give you 45 seconds to study the map and identify different things that are present on the map, and then we'll take another look at it and see what you can recall. So again, that's 45 seconds. Just study the map. No taking any notes. Just take a look at it. Try and store it all in your noggin, and we'll get started now. So your 45 seconds are up, and now I'll ask you to use your piece of paper and your pencil and try and list out as many items as you can. And you will have another 45 seconds to complete that. Okay, let's see, how many did you come up with? Here's our picture again. Some things I want to call your attention to, you can take a close look at. Starting on the left-hand side, of course, there's the sink and paintbrushes. There is a plant there. It looks like a couple of plants on the counter and a fish tank. And those little kind of slotted things are open windows. Around the corner there, you've got bookshelves. That's what those little V-like symbols are on top. Obviously, chairs. If you listed the colors of those, possibly yellow, blue, green, pink. I think they're supposed to be red, but pink works. Also, open books on the table. There's a computer. There's a teacher's desk, a globe, a rug. Up there next to the east sign on the far right hand side, there's like one of those rolly pull down things. They don't actually use those in classrooms much anymore, but that's like the chalkboard version of that. So the only thing I can't figure out is if you look in the far low left hand corner, I can't figure out what that brown and white looking thing is. Just not really sure. The other thing I noticed is missing from this classroom is a garbage can. Never seen a classroom without a garbage can or multiple garbage cans, so I'm not really sure what's going on there. Can you think of anything else that's missing from the classroom that you would expect to see there? I mean, obviously the humans are missing, but what else? Yeah. It's a good thing to ponder. Remember, working memory activities you can do anytime. To this week's activity, perhaps go over to a bookshelf. Spend 30 seconds studying it. Turn around and try and write out those titles that you can come up with, or the types of books, or try and even remember the colors of the books if you don't want to remember the titles. That's a good way to do it. Another thing that I would encourage you to do this week is what we would do in Brain Boot Camp as a reach-in activity. It's a sensory activity, but try reaching into a drawer in your kitchen, not the knife drawer, but in a drawer in your kitchen or perhaps your bedside table. Reach in without looking and try and feel and identify as many items as you can, based just simply on your ability to touch them and understand what they are. It's another great little cognitive activity you can just work into your daily life. And that's it. We've hit 30 minutes. It's Teacher Appreciation Day. It's Brain Boot Camp. And yeah, that's it. That's a wrap. I will see you on Friday for Art in the Studios. That's at 10 a.m. on Friday. We're going to be talking about May Day, not Mayday. I'm really having a lot of fun with that. And then next week we'll be back again on Wednesday. What are we doing next week? Oh, next Wednesday is National Nurses Day. We're going to hop right from teachers to nurses in Brain Boot Camp. So that's it. All of those shows, of course, are always on Channel 91. I cannot wait to see you again. Have a great day.